I'm Damon Zell, and this is your Eve Echoes Weekly News Update. Now, before we get started, if you can just hit that subscribe button and tap that bell, you can be kept up to date on everything that happens within this channel. Also, if you'd like to support the channel, there will be a link down in the description on exactly how you can do that. So I'd like to start off first by saying I know that this episode is behind by a day or two, but that is because I was down in bed with illness due to medical reasons. Things just happen. I will always strive to get the news out to you on a timely manner, looking at Wednesday so that we can be up to date with the patch notes that get released that day, moving forward. But like I said, unfortunately this week, a bug kind of took me down. So the patch came and went as smoothly as ever, and since last video, 2 patches have come. We are now up to date with the current patch as of the 14th. And the last week's patch didn't really bring anything of note, so we're just going to focus on the patch notes for what came with the service maintenance yesterday. So the first thing we want to look at is the skill reset is now implemented in the game. Now the skill reset, you can reset up to 500,000 skill points, but you can only use Plex to reset these skill points. Next, and now I am not really for this change. I know a lot of people are. I'm kind of torn on the whole matter, but it basically is protection will now last 60 seconds after leaving a space station. Changing direction will no longer dispel that protection. So which means that you can now leave stations and have up to a minimum of a minute to get off to a safe area. No more station camps. This effectively breaks station camps. I do understand why the change of direction was added. There was people that were using frigates to bump ships to kick them out of that protection so they can get locked down and shot. So I do understand that change. I just feel that 60 seconds is a little too much, and I do understand that this is a mobile game and all phones will render at different rates. So that's why I'm torn on this change itself. Now, to combat bots, they are issuing a bunch of lockdowns for guest accounts. Specifically, here's 2 of them right here. You're now required to link your account before joining a corporation. Basically, if you're a guest account, you need to link your account. You won't be able to do anything really in the game until you link your account. You're a guest player and you jettison something into space, there's going to be a 2-hour lock time automatically on that item, preventing any transfer to another player. So unfortunately, if you're not linked, you're not going to be able to transfer items between characters that way anymore. This patch also brings with it the PI restriction of tier 7 or lower alpha players can no longer start PI on areas in a security level lower than 0.5. So, which this means is no real low sec systems to be used for PI, no null systems to be used for PI. If you are tier 7 or lower alpha, you will have to be Omega to be able to PI throughout the game in any system. This change might be good for newer players who are just picking up EVE. They're going to be adding a basic recommended fittings for all ships, so that if you are a new pilot and you are just getting in a ship, it's going to have some basic recommendations on what you should fit on the ship to be able to play. They've now added an appeal function for any tickets that you may have gotten a response on that you didn't feel was the accurate response that you needed. So now they'll take a second look at it. Now you can do this through the customer service menu. So you go to settings, customer service, bug report, submit new issue, and ticket appeal. They'll review it again, and then it'll reply to your player again after reviewing it for a second time. Now with this patch, they did initialize a few fixes. One of the fixes was caused by irregular data in the being displayed after closing the fitting screen. So in other words, if you had some resists that were showing incorrectly in your fitting screen, they would be applied when you would close that. They fixed this issue, so now everything that is actually in the game will actually show on your fitting screen, so no more wondering if the item is broken or if you need to restart. That glitch has been fixed. They fixed an issue with the resource extraction being caused by shutting down the server. So every maintenance, when they would shut down the servers, sometimes people's PI extractors would just stop. And when the servers came back online, you would have to restart them up again. They also fixed an issue where object locations in the client were not displayed in sync with the server. In other words, if you're shooting a ship and it shows that it's 85 km out, but really it's like 14, that they put some things to fix that. As far as the bug report goes, I haven't really heard of any huge bugs in the game this week, except for one. After the servers come up, some people who were doing some anomalies would say that their entire UI would just vanish on a new wave coming in. I haven't seen many reports of this, only here and there, so it could technically not be a bug. It could just be something on the client side, but that's the only thing I really saw this week. The long-awaited sit down with the devs, AMA, happened this past week. So we were finally given answers to some of the burning questions that we had for them. And I just want to cherry pick a few of those and just go over exactly what we were told. One of the first ones was what changes will be made to the drone UI to make them viable in PvP. Now, if you didn't know, if you're using drones in a PvP setting, you can launch your drones at the enemy pilot. That pilot can then shoot your drones down, and you now have to wait a weapons timer of, I believe it's 2 minutes, before you can actually relaunch an additional drone. No other weapon system in the game works like this. In other words, I can't use my drones to target, say, a Caracal's missile launchers. It doesn't work like that. The way it's supposed to work is you're able to shoot these drones down, you're able to relaunch more drones. That's why you have a drone bay, to house all these amounts of drones. Now, if I'm fighting you and you kill off every single drone in my ship, well, then that's bad on me. You should just, I should be just blown out of the sky. But at that point, if I'm seeing I'm not doing any damage to you and I got you pointed and you're killing my drones left and right, I'm gonna duck out of there. But that's gonna be changed within 1 month's time. Now, we've been asking for a long time about a kill board. EVE Online has it. You can go to Z kill board and see basically every kill that's happened in the game. This is due to an API given out by EVE Online. Now, they are meeting us halfway currently. The question was, any plans for Alliance Corporation kill board tracker? Now, they are going to be giving us apparently a corporation kill board, but the Alliance one, they haven't even started working on this yet, and they're saying it's not going to come. Well, it's a step in the right direction anyway. We're supposed to be getting introduction spheres next month, so the questions were asked, what tier are the introduction ships? What is the decay timer on those spheres that they can launch? And will Hectors, which are heavy induction cruisers, use fuel from the cargo hold to power that mobile warp disruptor field? So the answers were yes, we are getting interdiction destroyers, and they're going to be at levels Tech 6 and Tech 9. We're actually going to be getting the interdiction cruisers. Those are the Hicks. We're going to get those at Tech level 8 and 10. The spheres that you launch will only last for about 120 seconds, so that's 2 minutes of non-warp time. They did not give us the circumference and range that these bubbles will cover yet. And yes, they will need fuel to be housed in the cargo bay. Now, it was said a while ago that they were going to rebalance warp stabilizers, sorry about that, and rebalance them accordingly. Now, they say that they are rebalanced, and I don't really feel that this is a correct way of rebalancing. They're basically saying that because they are using warp stabs, you're able to lock them faster. Their scan resolution is going to be higher, so you can lock them faster. But that doesn't really make a difference if you can't pin them down, does it? So, from a previous question, we know that the warp disruption field generators and the sphere launchers are going to use fuel. But what we didn't know is, how are we going to get these items? Are they going to be blueprint drops? Where are they going to come from? And they did answer these, that all the sphere launchers and the field generators will be used as blueprint drops. So most likely we're going to find these in your scout sites, in your inquisitor sites, as well as the warp scramblers, which are going to be coming a little bit later down the line. Those are going to be NPC drops from rats that can use scrams. So basically any rat, I believe, from a base, from a high inquisitor site, scout site, dead space, they used to be able to drop the warp disruptors. Now there's a chance that they're going to be dropping warp scramblers. And since we're talking about warp scramblers, one person asked, okay, I understand bubbles will kind of help with warps, but the game is lacking in 1 vs 1 or 1 vs 2 PvP, and I really think there needs to be a nerf to the warp stab rigs and low slots. Basically what they're saying is they're countering this by that warp scrambler that will be dropping will actually have more points than a disruptor. So your storyline and your faction points currently in the game, the disruptors, have 2 points of warp disruption on them. So I'm suspecting that a normal warp scrambler will have either 2 points and then a faction will have 3, or maybe your warp scrambler will have 3 points and your faction one will have 4. Either way, it's going to be more points than your disruptor. Now I know a lot of people are not happy about this, but they will be nerfing medium rapid missiles. However, they will be buffing medium missiles as a whole. So I guess it's give or take, but we can all agree that the medium rapid missiles were overpowered. Too many people are using them. Too many people are putting them on everything. It's the go-to for a lot of people. They did need a nerf. Now, a bit of controversy here. In my last report, I was talked about how a pilot can stay cloaked in an anomaly or a base or an asteroid field, and that anomaly, asteroid field, whatever, will not dissipate. So, in essence, it will not create a new one when it's emptied out, because there is a player still holding it up. There are no plans to change this. They're saying it's working as intended. So, take it with a grain of salt. I guess it's a new kind of warfare you can, produce against your enemies by just sticking a cloaky alt in some of their asteroid belts or their base, because you can put them in a base as well, and that base will not level up. So there are also plans to allow you to condense and compress ores within stations, but this won't come out until after sovereignty. So don't expect this until next year. But it will help with the transportation of a lot of these ores. Now, I personally asked about 5 questions, and they chose to answer 2 of them. Yeah, exactly. So, one of the questions was, we have these ECM boats. We have these, anti-logistic ships. When will they actually be true in the game? When are we going to get true ECM and ECCM? Unfortunately, it's not going to be introduced anytime in the near future. So don't expect ECM anytime until next year. So we're not going to get weapon jammers. We're not going to get target disruptors, anything like that until next year. Now, the big one is, this channel is basically mostly going to be covering sovereignty after the sovereignty update. So we want to know exactly how you're going to be able to take sovereignty in these systems. In EVE Online, you use something called a TCU. That is these little units that you place in each system that basically gives that alliance sovereignty within that realm. They're not going to use TCUs in Echoes. What they're going to use is a corpse citadel. So your corpse station is going to act as a TCU. Now, we all know that player outposts are expensive to build, take a lot of resources, and currently right now I think it is between 5 to 7 billion to just buy it outright. This is considered a small citadel. The corp stations are considered a medium citadel. So it's going to take double the resources to build this thing. Now, we don't know if you're going to need one of these in each constellation to take the constellation, or if you're going to need one in each system to claim sovereignty in each system? If so, sovereignty is going to be low and slow to gain an entire region, because you're going to need one of these in each system. It's incredibly expensive to do. I think it's nearsighted to plan it this way, but again, we don't know all the aspects of how they're going to be doing this until we get that sovereignty update and AMA next month. And again, we asked if directional scan and bookmarks will be coming to counter these warp bubbles. There are plans. D-scan will apparently be later than bookmarks, so bookmarks will be coming before directional scan. I just don't see how they are planning on having exploration coming in December along with the sovereignty patch and not being able to have directional scan. I mean, you would need directional scan before probing, I would think. But again, the devs don't really talk to the content creators that much and plans. And I'm going to go into this a little bit further on in the video with some news. But again, this is all the information we're getting. We're updated the same time you guys are updated through this AMA. This week, Plex has been holding firm around 382,000. The lowest I've seen it this week is at 344, but it's basically leveled out even with the new changes made with Plex to be able to do the skill reset at 380, somewhere between 380 to 390,000 per Plex. Let us know that they've noticed a lot of players using third-party charge services to buy things for their accounts. They want to remind us that this is both illegal and dangerous, and that anything stolen from your account by using these third-party services will not be restored to your account. So for the safety of your accounts, do not use these third-party services. One of the biggest news we've seen in Null and Alliances was the fall of the Elysium Alliance, who was currently at war with Genesis Federation. Now, there's many facets to this story, and I'm going to start from the beginning from what I was told. I first learned that the Elysium was basically breaking up and dissipating. So I reached out to a lot of the Elysium heads to find out if this was true. What I was told was that the Elysium Coalition was merging into a single super alliance called the OG Empire. So that's Old Terra. And they were condensing heavily to prepare for a full-scale war against Genesis. They said that they tried diplomacy, they refused, so now it's not opposing forces war, it's now theirs. Now that was from one of the heads of Elysium that told me that. Now they told me because of this, the innermost circle of the Empire officers would be Sandman, Electrona, and Enerva would be the center of that circle, and the Empire advisors, who were the heads of specific areas, such as PvP, PvE, and industry, would be on the outer part of that circle, advising and leading. The following circle would be Alliance directors, who would speak for the Alliance, but would also have Alliance level PvP, PvE, and industry reps who report up to the Empire level to make sure that their group is moving towards the Empire vision. And they said that the last circle would be community reps, which would be structured the same as all the other levels, with one voice in the Alliance level, and PvE, PvE, and Indie, if they had them, those individuals would report up the Alliance level. So in other words, basically a chain of command. The basic concept of creating this chain of command in a large organization and knowing who and when to escalate issues to. That way they aren't being bogged down at the top with mundane requests, and at the same time they have the ability to get necessary feedback from the bottom up. This was the plan. It said it gave them the ability to bring the entire alliances with representation and the corps to be filled into those alliances and individual members into those corps, into the whole planning structure. They even came up with an entire new logo for the alliance, and they said that the reason for that logo was the response to Genesis burning down one of their bases back to level 1 in Paragon Sol, and the whole thing that proceeded after that. Now, obviously, during this initial movement, merger, Some of the corporations that were within Elysium broke off, went their own ways. Now, I got a message from yet another head of Elysium that told me this. In a nutshell, the council grew weary of hashing out the minutiae and opted to merge with OG. The bulk of Elysium had already joined them. Anything beyond that, he's not privy to, but it's looking like OG will be growing into something greater than Elysium in the coming days. So during this merger period, Genesis Federation decided to hit Elysium in Paragon Sol and basically station camp them for over a 24-hour period. Now they also are saying they have the first relief in place during this time, which basically means a shift change. They had, I believe, 80 pilots outside the station camping them, and then when their Russian counterparts came online, they relieved that 80 pilots force and started camping them again. This basically broke Elysium. So the war is now over. Genesis Federation has claimed victory, and rightly so. They destroyed them. And currently now, Genesis is holding 3 different regions. They are, at the time of recording this, to my knowledge, 9 alliances strong in Genesis Federation, and they're holding Esoteria, Paragon Sol, and Period Basin. Now, speaking with other heads of the previously known Elysium, the fault of all this is laid to rest on the shoulders of one person, the Executor, which is quoted here as screwing up badly, pretty much pissing everyone off. And this player is known as Bloody. So that the initial plan was to consolidate forces in MP5 to entrench versus Genesis. Now, this was the station that Genesis basically bombarded and was killing players left and right, station camping over for a 24-hour period. Instead, Bloody mishandled the merger, causing BLKR Go, which is Galactic Outlaws, Bob, to leave and join Genesis Federation. They're now part of GenFed. And Bloody basically took his corp, SSS, turned tail and ran to Dark Null, which is the Void Alliance, once the leadership of Elysium realized that he did. Now, this whole war has basically been Bloody's one-man war against Genesis Federation, and he brought all of that alliance and coalition into this war. Now, upon reading all of this, and I know it's a little disjointed, and I'm sorry, I'm working freebase, I don't have any notes because I was sick. Now, I did reach out to one of the heads of the Null Void Alliance to find out what their intentions were now that Bloody's joined them. Will they be continuing the war against Genesis? Bloody's one-man, pursuit against them. And the response I got was this. Thank you for reaching out to us. We have accepted SSS into the Void Alliance. We have 0 intentions on continuing the previous war between SSS and Genesis. We look forward to engaging in talks for a peaceful resolution with both sides. SSS and all in Void understand no hostile action shall be taken against or towards Genesis. We hope, though, through this we can start to bring some peace to both sides and work towards the future with hope. So there you have it. Bloody lost the war. Genesis won. They now hold 3 regions, like I said before, which basically makes them a force to be reckoned with in the South. Who they'll be turning their eye on next, I don't know. I can only assume most likely OpForce. I don't have any word on who their next target is or if they're going to be expanding past these regions. But they did answer the war call and do claim victory. So let's give a round of applause to Genesis Federation for all they have accomplished thus far. If we are talking about Genesis Federation, there was one post on the Eve Echoes official Facebook page that I do have to comment on. I mean, I'm not going to give my summation of it, whether it was good or bad. I'm going to leave that to all of you. But apparently they came across a new player. They were doing a PvP fleet. He was in a retriever. They pointed him. They did not kill him. But they did make him come onto their Discord and sing to them, "Twinkle, twinkle, little star," to gain his freedom. They let him go after that. And again, whether this is good or bad, it's up to you. I know this is a tradition in EVE Online. Some would say it is toxic behavior. Others say it's a time-honored tradition. Again, not my place to decide which is which. I'm just bringing it out there for all of you to consume. Now to the war between OpForce and Trimarch and the Aquarius Coalition. I promised you last week I would have the winners of the OpForce tournament against Trimarch. So, coming in third place, the player Serial took home a cruiser of their choice. Second place was Star Hobo, and they took a battle cruiser of his choice. With the winner, and coming in first, was Ahaya, and they took home a faction frigate of their choice. Now, the total number of kills throughout the entire tournament equaled 598, with a total estimated ISK value of 37 billion, with a B, 216,720,013 ISK. Now, any way you slice it, those are some impressive numbers. So let's talk about the war between OpForce and Trimarch. Now, Trimarch wants it to be known that they do not reference opposing force or OpForce at all. They don't want to reference them as part of their enemies in this war. Who they are referring to is the Corporation Red, which is the Russian wing of OpForce. Now, they do understand that technically Red is OpForce, but they see them as a complete separate entity, who they're at war with. The Aquarius Coalition formed the defense for False Directory's Citadel, which was put into reinforcement by Red 24 hours prior. As defense fleets quickly formed, they made their way to camp the system K7D in an effort to hold back the enemy forces. This system proved to be crucial, holding point in the battles to come due to allowing Trimarch and the QC to cut Red off from attacking any of the other coalition stations. Local had quickly reached 250 as the first engagements with the enemy were had. During this defense, they got word that a small force of Red had come through a backdoor entry and made their way to Trimarch's Citadel system of ATEC 5 and had begun hitting their Citadel. A small detachment of snipers were immediately sent off from the main fleet. It says, employing the new shield tactics, their force of snipers were able to huddle on Trimarch Citadel and constantly force off the attackers. This battle took place over a 3-hour period, as these pilots stayed in defense of the Trimarch Citadel, not rejoining the main fleet. Now, as a side note, it seems as if all alliances are now employing this strategy of the field-generating MOA Guardian. It is very strong. Anyone that stays within the large bubble provided by that MOA is basically safe from attack, unless that MOA goes down. I find that, unfortunately, this makes a lot of the battles kind of stale, and I hope to see some kind of, maybe a nerf to this meta in the upcoming future. So let's get back to the battle at hand. As the shield timer for the False Trajectory's Citadel was ticking down, they defended it, and their fleet moved a couple of jumps back down the pipeline to IGE Tech NE, so that the enemy only had one option: to come through them or go home. As more hostiles began showing up from allied forces, including INF, FS, and AL, local quickly grew to another 300 plus, as the Aquarius Coalition held the gate. Red and the hostile fleet were staying about 70 km off with their sniper fleets, attempting to take down this MOA Guardian, which apparently was unsuccessful. The sniper fleet that was within the bubble started amassing plenty of kills on the hostile fleet, which in turn Red cut their losses and turn around, especially since the timer dwindled down and the shield was put back up to full. So it was a successful defense of both stations by Trimark and the Aquarius Coalition as a whole. Again, since we were talking about OpForce, I decided to reach out to one of the leadership members and just have a small interview, just a few questions I wanted to ask. These questions were: there are reports of another leadership restructuring due to the pressure from Trimark and the QC, as well as low member turnout, and is this true? I was replied by Maldez, which is one of the leadership members of OpForce, telling me that leadership restructuring was completed prior to the conflict. When Ragnar and himself took over, they replaced a handful of departmental leaders and created upper management positions to help lighten the load. The Gonsoff announcement posted on Reddit, you may have seen this Reddit post about not really making ops mandatory for their members. They're basically saying that this was a counterintelligence post campaign and was removed once their strategic objectives have been met. I also asked, as Elysium fell to Genesis, I heard that OpForce did not rally to help their ally, thus perpetuating the fall of Elysium as well as the Elysium OG merge. And the response I got on that was, our relationship up until Friday was strong with Elysium. From their understanding, they were attacked in the middle of restructuring, and they were not notified of the severity of the situation until Monday evening. By then, it was too late. They were watching the Genesis fleet movements via scout reports, and since they didn't receive any word from Elysium, assumed that those fleets moving against the another Genesis laundry list of enemies. If they had known, they would have shown up in force to help Elysium. I also asked, with the OG now and Elysium now shattered and Genesis holding Esoteria, Paragon, and Period, what does this mean for OpForce in regards to the war and the continuing hostilities? I was told that opposing force has not lost a single corp, in which I have not received a reply to that question. I've also asked that there have been reports of corps leaving OpForce, thusly hemorrhaging their member count, and was there any truth to these rumors? OpForce has lost a single corporation, DIT, while flying the OpForce flag. They operated autonomously as more of a close ally than a wing of the Alliance themselves. They had been deliberating for weeks on where to settle, and they were not only aware of the move and plan to rebrand, they were actually actively encouraging it and offering to help where they could. A number of the 4D Corps opted to stay behind due to a variety of reasons, including culture, language and location, and time zone. They still consider the leadership of DIT to be good friends. Currently, they're at a net gain in terms of growth week over week. They simply just don't advertise every single new addition to the OpForce family. This week, they have a number of corps joining directly, with a few more beginning trial periods as part of their Learning and Development Alliance, OP4G, where they provide a more casual atmosphere and have a solid team of instructors to help new players and corps adapt and thrive into New Eden. Last but not least, I asked that I've actually been shared a screenshot of an announcement that required all corps in OpForce to give a PI quota of 1,800 per pilot per corp to be donated every Sunday or face expulsion from the Alliance. And what was their comments to this? They said yes, they do have a PI quota, and expulsion isn't the first level of action. They have a laundry list of benefits available to corps and pilots. These programs require funding, especially for them to get off the ground. Part of their restructuring was shifting fiscal responsibilities in a few areas away from the corp level to be handled by the Alliance level. Over the next few weeks, they'll be rolling out more Alliance-sponsored events and programs, including more PvP competitions, battle royals, subsidies for large purchases, and ship provision programs. The Mercenary Coalition would like people to know at this time they're accepting new contracts in the South to coincide with some internal fleet testing. Contract periods are currently set to a maximum of 14 days to the rapidly changing landscape of the mobile game. And as SOV isn't in the game as of right now, they're only taking harassment contracts tied with PPK, which is pay per kill component. This means that any entity or single player anywhere in the game that has a bone to pick with someone can afford them, can now hammer out a contract with them, and they'll go to town for you. Now, any of these contracts can be set up by contacting Promised One via their Discord, or you can also pop onto the MC Discord and ask for ambassador roles to get you set up for future arrangements. Now, on contracts will have an upfront fee payable to the Alliance to initiate the contract, and a portion of that held within escrow by the MC. For more information, please contact Promised One to get your contract started today. The war continues between Honk, Triple V, and the Silent Alliance. Now, I don't really have any battle reports to report this time. Instead, let's just enjoy the amount of artwork and propaganda coming from these groups in the form of these posters, which are just beautiful. The war between PIBC and the Happy Bees continues. I have a Requiem leader letting me know that they have killed over 14 billion of Happy Bees ISK value within the last 4 days. Community news. Sovereign RPG has left the official content creators group, basically stating that he's done. He thinks that he's been patient enough, and we haven't even gotten a single response from the devs, which is true. We actually asked devs a lot of questions in our special area on the official Discord, which rarely ever gets a response from. We actually end up getting more response from DMing Joseph personally than actually having access to the devs themselves. He wanted to thank for the opportunity, but this isn't what he was promised at all when he first signed up, especially since we all had to sign an NDA. And he's going to continue going on his own. So best of luck to Sovereign. I don't think he really needs luck. He's actually killing it over there on his channel, especially with his latest videos. We love what he's doing over there. Again, he does say that he will continue start up his ENN broadcasts again, probably in the next week or two. So we look forward to those. And just as some commentary, I too, and a lot of others, are a little frustrated. We thought by joining the CC team that we would actually have meaningful talks or questions answered directly by the devs so that we can get this information out to you guys. But unfortunately, that has not been the case. We're informed at the same time you guys are. We just have a broader platform to get the information out to people who don't visit the official Discord. I do feel bad for this player, but as a reminder to all, please always check your sales numbers before you hit finalize. This poor gentleman sold a bunch of Plex, and instead of it registering for $365,000 per Plex, he sold it at $365,000. Yeah, I'm just going to leave it there. That's a huge, huge loss. But unfortunately, like again, that's not system error, that is player error. Always check your final numbers before you hit confirm. In our Alliance Spotlight this week is Soon Alliance. Soon Alliance was created by veterans of EVE Online after about 10 years of space battles. They decided to try their strength and apply it to EVE Echoes. As an alliance, they are focused on creating the biggest Polish community as they gather vets from EVE as well as new players. They just started a new Academy Corporation for fresh players. There they can learn the basic of all aspects of Echoes and join them in Nullsec. Soon Alliance is situated deep in Null with good PvP, PvE, as well as mining. They do have long-term plans, but they will keep evolving based on upcoming game mechanics. However, one of the goals will remain intact. They are there to have fun. Soon are good in PvP, but don't take their word for it. Visit their YouTube channel to see the results of their battles. They are a not blue shoot-up policy with a minimal blue list, as they do not want to be part of any blue donut, and they feel that the feeling of fighting 1 versus 3 odds and winning is one of the best you can actually have in EVE. We wish them luck in their endeavors, and we'll keep an eye on them for any future events. Now, if you need more news in your life, remember, Sovereign will be coming out with new episodes of the ENN, that's the EVE News Network, episodes on Sovereign RPG channel. You have EveRadio.com's live news broadcast every Monday and Friday. They'll be through the app as well as uploaded to their YouTube channel. So check with them with local community news as well as game news. You have Sean's Echoes of New Eden podcast for news on the go, featuring interviews as well as community news throughout the week. And again, I do want to apologize if this episode seemed to be kind of on the fly. Again, I was down sick this week, and my notes kind of just got jumbled and lost about. This is a one-man show. Until maybe in the future I might pick up some reporters along the line. But until then, I'm just going to keep trying to do the best I can to provide you guys with the most news I can dig up each week. So again, remember, your enemy can never disrupt you from within a pod. Fly safe, have a great week. See you next Wednesday.